because you can't, like, if you're fully identified with all of the thoughts that you have personally, then it's hard for you to, you have to create a separation from that at some point, right? Otherwise, it's like, because that's still you, right? And you will keep suffering as long as you think that's still you, right? That's a big part of our suffering anyway. So it's like combining that with like personal development, essentially, right? Self-realization, like self-actualization, personal development, like, building strength, mind, body, soul. So,
Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified when the next video comes out. It only takes 2 seconds to make 2 clicks. So let's do it. Let's get back to the video. Hello, Fearless Freedom Tribe. It is Dr. G, and we are back for another exciting episode of the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast, where we talk about fear and how we overcome it and achieve our greatness. So today we have Colton Hall with us, and Colton's going to tell us all about himself and what he is up to. Take it away.
hey, thanks for having me, Charmaine. Glad to be here.
So tell us about yourself, Colton. Like, what are you up to? Who are you? Who is Colton Hall?
All right, we'll just try to give you the short story, I suppose. I'm a pharmacist by education. For most of my life, though, I was drinking heavily every day for like 18 years straight. Turned into about 10 years of like really, really bad anxiety, like so bad it was completely debilitating. I was on medications for a decade, off and on, and I really couldn't even function without taking Valium twice a day. There, those last few years, especially. So, and it was really just, I couldn't even function in public like without it. Like the anxiety was so bad, and like, and when I would socialize, it was like I would have to drink I would have to have like 6 drinks or more just to take the edge off enough to where I felt like I could relax and interact with people around. So I mean, it got really bad. So I just about 32, I just hit what I call my threshold of suffering, and I just couldn't take it anymore. Right. I'm working as a pharmacist for about 7+ years out after college at that point, in retail. And I was like, I'm just getting worse. Like all my patients are getting worse. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So a few weeks later, I had left. I just knew I needed to get out of the country. I don't know why. I just needed to leave. I ended up on an island in Thailand, and about a week into being like sober, and I ran into another pharmacist who had healed himself using like breath work and supplements and just proper meditation and stuff like that. But the breath work is a big part of it. He was starting to share it. He was about 7 years into his journey at the time. He was bedridden like for 10 months, irritable bowel disease, like bad, like pharmaceuticals, no other option, bad. So he also had to give up on that, and they wanted to cut out his colon. They were like, "There's nothing else we can do for you." And he was like, "No, it's like can't be it." And he ended up, going and healing himself. So then he was sharing the breath work. So it's so crazy how I meet this guy, right? Small island in Thailand, sober for a week for the first time since I was 14, and I ended up this shamanic like breath work journey thing. I'm just like, how I even ended up there is just crazy, right? And this guy, Niraj, the renegade pharmacist, he starts talking with this group of people right when we get there. He's like, so I used to be a pharmacist, and I was like, I mean, it's the first thing he says, and I'm just like, what? I'm like, what are you doing here? I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like, what? Why are 2 pharmacists sitting here right now? It's very, very weird, So anyway, that journey just took me really deep into a meditative state, and I mean, I was in that state, and I just like, it's like I just knew I could heal myself. Like I had to do it. I had to start over. It's like I don't know. I didn't know why or what I was getting myself into. And but yeah, sure enough, I gave it some time, and about a week later, I was still 100%. And I quit my job and just started over, like completely, right? I just had to relearn everything, right? I went on the self-healing journey, which after the first couple of years really turned into like trying to figure out how I had transformed and healed myself so quickly so I could start helping others. So it really went into like, then I found a lot of the wording, what was going on and how to actually change and transform within like transformational coaching specifically, like versus all other coaching, which is transactional. So, that's why I do that now. I kind of combine both of it to try to help people like just go really fast, because it's like, it's just incredible, like all the stories I heard on the journey as well. And all the different people trying to help people heal naturally. And of course, eventually I started figuring out it was just like, it's an all natural thing. It's getting the stress response turned off, getting the body into the healing state. You can do it in different ways. But the breath work is a huge thing. If you can't actually get that turned off, like your body doesn't heal and regenerate. So, and that's, modern society and all the technology and stuff. It's, every little thing is turning that on. So, we can turn it off if we just do some things to get it turned off and actually, out of that fight or flight response, So it's the stress. And then there's just, of course, endless forms of toxicity that I help people address that a lot of them don't realize that are actually forms of toxicity, right? Because all the fake food and all this crap. So to me, it really turned into on the self-healing journey was like, okay, I'm all good now. I'm doing all these. And then I was like, but I'm still suffering. There's crazy shit going on in my head. Like what is that? Like, I heard all this stuff about like, you are not your thoughts and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, it sure seems like I am because I'm like suffering like crazy here. Like, how do I experience not being that, right? So, I mean, it was actually the first mentor I hired, like a really legitimate, powerful one. Used to do a lot of like yoga and spiritual meditation teacher and stuff. Like a 50-year-old Aussie guy I'd met when I was in Bali doing the sauna ice bath where I was at this really cool spa on the river. And yeah, I mean, it's just like this powerful conversation we recorded it, our first session, and I just kept going through it and taking notes. And a few days later, like I started actually no longer identifying with my thoughts, and I started just seeing them from more of the observer point of view. And I was like, just seeing this just in miles per hour, self-condemning, self-critical thinking, but it was no longer me. And I was like, holy fuck. I was like, what is that? I was like, that's insane. Like, what is going on here? So that was like really like liberating experience. That was about a year and a half into my journey. And then like for 6 weeks, I was just like full power, like more energy than I could have ever possibly imagined having, just 24/7. Because all of my energy was literally going into building those thinking patterns my entire life. Right. So, and leading up to that point, I was doing like 3 to 4 hours of different things every morning, like my morning routine, to just give myself in a better state of mind so I could be positive and happy and, not lost in that thought, right? Like not lost in my head. So, I mean, that's a lot all at once. So, I mean, that's the story, I guess. That's the story.
That's great. And now are you still in Indonesia?
No. So I've been back. I'm in Houston. I've been here for about 3 years now. Yeah, almost 3 years. We came back August of 2020. Yeah. We were in Thailand
right,
at the time.
right into the pandemic.
My girlfriend, the COVID thing kicked off. She turned up pregnant like a few weeks later after COVID started. I was like, wow, this is getting really interesting. I was like, my sister lived in Houston for like 10 years. So I was like, well, let's just go down to Texas. We'll be around my family. She was expecting her second around the same time. Yeah. So I was like, so I ended up in Houston. I mean, Texas is good. It's really hot. Oh my God.
Yeah, it is.
Other than that, it's great. Probably one of the freest states.
In summertime, it's super hot.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's super crazy. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on being a dad. Like I said, it's like they're super cute, but right around this age, they're very spirited.
Oh man, it's wild. Yeah. It's 2.5. It's crazy. Yeah, it's very magical. A little bit challenging at times, of course, but really amazing. It's so cool watching him like develop, the personality and consciousness the last year or so. He's really sweet, really good dude. So
good.
I'm proud of him already a lot.
Yeah. And it's funny because when ours were young, people would always say like, oh yeah, you're like, it's rough now, because we had 3 that we had them pretty close in age, they're like really 17 months and then 2 years apart. So they're close in age. So they they were young at the same time. So it was very, very hectic. So People would always be like, oh yeah, you guys think it's hard now. Like, enjoy these moments. Like they seem like they're challenging. And it seemed like they say the days are long when they're young, but then as they get older, it's like the years are short. So definitely, enjoy every stage. Yeah, that was the advice we got. And I thought it was the best advice ever because I really saw how, because we did that, we made sure that we spent time with them. And even now, it just made all the difference because now I don't have any like regrets about it, like I'm not like, oh, I kind of wish I spent more time with them, when they were little. I don't have that. So it's a challenging time. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm sure you know this, but it's a
It is
really
good advice.
good
Though.
it's
If
a
you're
really
really thinking it
good
through,
time to be around
it
them
does.
when
It
they're
goes
that
really fast.
little.
Yeah, yeah, that's good advice. I think.
Yeah. Cool. So now you got to tell us. All right. So you found out this truth about yourself through a method that helped you to overcome a major obstacle in your life. I'm curious though, how is it that you were able to overcome the fear of not drinking alcohol?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, how did you do that? Because to be drinking for a long time and then to just like stop, usually that's not an easy thing to do. To drink for a long time and then to just abruptly stop. How did you do that? I'm not sure if you heard the question.
Something about the fear of like not drinking,
Yes.
right?
So what I said was that I wonder how you overcame the fear of not drinking, because
Yeah,
having alcohol in your body and having dependence of your body on alcohol for so many years, it's not an easy thing to just stop. So
right.
how did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just part of the journey. I mean, it was about a year, like from the beginning to about a year into it, where I finally stopped having like cravings, like really actually wanting to drink.
I
Still,
see.
right? So it took like a year. So like during that year, like I would drink less and less, and I would drink less each time. Right?
I
I would drink
see.
less often and less each time. And I was just like, I mean, I was just at the point, like I said, like I think a lot of people, like if you suffer enough and you're just like, that's it. Like you can't take it anymore. Like she's like, I wasn't gonna give up. I was gonna
Right.
figure out how to stop suffering. Like, I was like, I couldn't, like, there was no other question. I mean, I literally left my career, started living off what very little retirement account I had on at the time. Like, it's like, so yeah, I just kept pushing. Like I said, I was doing these like 3 to 4 hours morning routines to get myself into a state where I like didn't want to go numb myself from the insanity that was going on in my mind. Like, breath work, meditation, yoga, dancing, like just like all kinds of crazy stuff, right? But yeah, it's like that's the thing though. I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, it's not actually that long, right? Because the body actually regenerates. Like every cell in your body is replaced in like 2 years, the majority of them. I think even every brain cell within like 7 years or something like that. So it's like your body is like, you are completely different in 2 years. If you completely take out all the conditions that are adding to toxicity of your life, whether it's mentally or physically, I mean, in a couple of years' time, you'll be a completely different person, right? Because your entire body will regenerate, right? Of course, it's pretty hard to avoid a lot of the toxicity because it's everywhere, right?
Right.
but there is a lot of things that we can control that most people have no idea that they actually have control of, right? So it's not really a fear thing with that. I mean, there's a lot of fear, right? Like with all parts of it, but yeah, I mean, the cravings, they just kind of stopped after it was right about a year into it. Like I remember it, I was like, man, it's been exactly a year, and this is the first day I felt like I don't have craving to drink anymore. So in the grand scheme of things, that's not very long actually, right? But
Right. In your
because of
lifetime,
this,
absolutely.
yeah, because of this, like we've been all this instant, gratification, convenience and stuff. Like we want everything now. Like it seems like forever when you're in it, right? So I think a lot of people just, can't ever get anywhere because they can like go a couple of weeks or something, and it's like give up, right? It's like
Yeah.
that's not enough.
Right.
Talking about a lifelong habit, if you
For
want to change it,
lasting
it takes
change,
years.
right.
That's another thing I learned actually from a really good psychotherapist. He was like, no, it's not 3 months to change a habit. It takes a year to truly make change. It's like you can actually get it down to 6 months if you've been doing it a lot and you get really good at it. You can actually change some things in a 6 month period. But first, I mean, you have to get good at it, which of course probably going to take a year or more to change some things about yourself. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, it's Dr. G, and I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank you for listening to this episode. I'm so honored to have you here with me. Did you know that I can help you to get your own podcast started? With my podcasting launch course for professionals, I walk you through everything you need to know about starting a podcast. I'm with you every step of the way, from sign up to launching your show, with 5 episodes ready to go. There's a done for you version that's also available. If you would just rather just do recordings and leave the behind the scenes work up to us, then that one is definitely for you. But either way, we've got your back here at Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Oh, if you already have a show and you need production services, we have monthly plans available for you. So check out the links in the episode show notes for more information. Let's get back to the show. And then, so was there, so that is a huge accomplishment. Congratulations, by the way, because like I said, that's not an easy thing to do, right? And then the other thing is, did you feel like you had a lot of fear when you found out you're going to be a parent, and then when you made the decision to come back to Houston?
What about it?
Did you feel like there was fear involved? Did you feel like there was fear involved when you found out you're going to be a parent? And then was there fear involved when you had to come back home to Houston?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely had to be some. At the same time, like all of the fear in the beginning, like there was a lot of that, like those first like time, because it was just like I just was really scared that I wasn't ever actually going to be able to stop suffering like I wasn't actually going to be able to free myself. Like once I actually did, I started like enjoying the challenges and being faced with bigger and bigger challenges, because I'd already figured out at that point that it's like the bigger the challenge you face, the faster and the more you will grow.
Yes.
And it's like, and I had actually started, without thinking about it, putting myself in situations that were extremely challenging, especially with the extremely difficult woman that I have had a child with now, that I'm about to get divorced with. I mean, we did everything we could to make it work, but like, I mean, if you knew all the details of that, you'd be like, I mean, it's just crazy. Like, I put myself in the most challenging situations. Same thing I did with the first mentor I hired. Same thing I did with her, and trying to, I mean, I learned so much. Like, that's what actually propelled me to, well, one, do a retreat and actually learn the core teachings of the Buddha, and actually go deep enough into a meditative state to truly like pretty much be at that like close to enlightenment state. You can like call it samadhi or whatever, where like there's literally nobody at home. Like it's just insane being there. But then it was like the psychotherapy and really digging into my own subconscious, like all of the unconscious shit like I got from my parents. Like we all get all kinds of shit, right? And like actually exposing that helped me see that like this idea that there was something wrong with me, right? And then that my dad was just this like perfect guy. I was like, holy shit, that's all completely opposite. Like that's not true at all. There's actually nothing wrong with me. He's the one suffering, and holy shit, like that's a complete mind fuck, starting to see that clearly. And I'm like, oh my God, it's crazy. So it's like, I mean, it's like, I started loving the insights, right? It's just like, because the more I became aware of, the more I could start freeing myself from. It's just so liberating, right? So it's, and like the challenges, I just love it. It's like, oh my God, like what's going to happen next? It's like, just recently I quit the job. I was doing some compounding pharmacy stuff because I'm, still getting the coaching practice going. So I got to pay the bills, I got a family, all this stuff.
Sure, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So it's like, and I left that job because I was going to start running this pharmacy it's a hospice like pharmacy, because it's like awesome lady called me, we get connected with, and she's like speaking my language, systems, processes, all this stuff. Like She's even cussing, like, and stuff. She's talking like me, dropping F-bombs. And I'm like, who are you? Because I've never in my life talked with anybody related to pharmacy in any way that thinks or talks like anywhere close to you or me. So how is this happening? And she's like,
Right.
like that's just how it happens, right? Things happen very synchronistically when you're like actually living in alignment with your conscience and with your intuition and following that. But the DEA comes in and shuts her pharmacy down. It's the 14th independent pharmacy they've shut down in the last year in Houston alone. And this is just a week after like I take this job to take over her pharmacy. She started 5 years previously, simply because her granddad couldn't like get medications and ended up dying like very not well and much more quickly than he needed to. She was just pissed off. She was like, well, I'm going to just freaking start a hospice pharmacy and we're going to fix this real quick, So anyway, she'll get back up and running. She still wants me to come on and take it over and run it for her. Hopefully in a few months when she can start turning a profit again. That's a very complicated thing, expensive thing.
Yes, indeed.
But so in the meantime, I'm kind of in between jobs, and it's like when this is all going down, it's like I'm like this is a crazy ass movie, like because it was literally the day after that the new owner of the pharmacy I was leaving like had hired 2 other pharmacists just to replace me because it's like I don't even know what I ended up doing, but I was doing a lot and it's not easy stuff. It's complicated.
Right.
But I was like, she wants me to start like in 2 weeks. Like I can't give you more. And he was letting this place fall apart. Tons of potential. I would have stayed there, but he didn't want to let me do anything. Anyway, details don't matter. So it's like, it's literally the day after, like there's no way I can stay at my job anymore because these other people have now quit their jobs and they're coming.
Right. They're headed there.
So I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, and I know something's up because I've been in pretty close contact with her. And it was the first time that I hadn't heard from her in a whole day. And so, yeah, and sure enough, like, it's like, I got to talk to you, like, in a couple hours, I'll call you as soon as I can. She's like, and I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that's it. I had a feeling something like this was going on,
Oh
So I was like, I'm like, yeah, and I know, I'm like, I know I don't have a job like right now. And at the same time, I'm like, this is fucking crazy. I'm like, bring it on. Like, wow, where is this going to take me? Like, this is so interesting. And the old me would have just been like, oh my fucking God, like scared.
Well, yeah, panic because,
Yeah, I would have been like popping, extra volumes, fucking drinking a bottle of scotch or a couple bottles of wine or something. I would have just been numbing the fuck out of myself until I somehow, had a paying job again or something. And I'm just like, this is great. This is so cool. And there's some other things that happened during that time too. Like me and my wife had a falling out. I don't even know if I want to share details of that. It's very unfortunate. He threw my phone at my head, like while I was holding my son. And I'm like, that's fucked up. We're good. But this was actually the next night. And even before that, we were having a good dinner. We were like in agreement, like, that's it. It's finalized. We're going to get a divorce. Obviously some things I said that wasn't happy with her. That's why I said them triggered her massively. This was in public and everything. So it's crazy. And then the next night, the power was no longer on the condos because they were moving the transformers up higher.
Oh, I see.
So they were flooded again. And that ended up being 48 hours of no power at my condo. It was only supposed to be 24. I was like, this is all in 1 week. Right. And this is just, just a few weeks ago. This is just a few weeks ago. Like I'm still like in the middle of this. Right. So it's really interesting. I just moved into a new place just a few days ago here. So I'm just getting settled in right next to my son's preschool and all that. And it's just like, I just love it. Like this is so crazy. It's so interesting. I'm just loving the challenges. I got 2 things I'm probably going to start doing. Got to decide tomorrow on which job I want to take. And that'll give me something to do in the meantime. And until she's able to bring me back on at this hospice pharmacy, which is great because for me,
that's what you want to do anyway.
From a pharmaceutical standpoint, I don't really see much use with pharmaceuticals other than like in a situation like that, where obviously people are not going to go on the freaking self-healing journey and, heal themselves.
You can't do anything at that point. Yeah, it's like a terminal situation.
Way too late. So, they're literally actively dying when they're going to be actively dying anytime. Like it's the end.
And should not suffer. Right. Should not be suffering.
Right. I'm all about like helping people in that situation, like helping, them, be comfortable, die pleasantly, not be a traumatic thing, like whatever, like, and do it. And like the whole idea is to do it in a really timely fashion when emergencies come up, make it happen. Like even if I have to drive there in the middle of the night to make it happen, like
Right.
whatever. Like at least that will give some purpose to being a pharmacist. Otherwise, I don't really see much one because, I mean, in my perspective now, I mean, outside of emergency, you know, acute situations, right, life-saving, life-threatening situations, there's just no use for Western medicine. I mean, it's just you're talking about numbing symptoms and allowing whatever's actually going on to keep getting worse. Like, come on, it's like it's not designed to help anybody. Like, let's be honest. And the preventative stuff we don't even want to get into, or we'll get completely shut down. This information won't get anywhere. But I'll just say that that's very disturbing. What's going on with that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. Wow.
So,
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a lot that you have on your plate there. There's no question.
Yeah.
And then
Crazy.
it's fascinating to me how much you have grown, I guess, because I mean, when you described Colton from, you know, before and now, and how you deal with so many fires being shot at you, and you're still kind of like, okay, you know, bring it. Like this is, you know, this is a Tuesday.
Yeah. Whatever. Just
So
another day.
yeah.
It's
So
really
that's
crazy. It's hard to wrap my head around that I used to be like that. You know, I mean, it is crazy. It really is. It's so crazy. I really want to help other people do that. Like, it's not just me. I see how anybody can do that. Like, anybody can do that.
yeah. But you realize that you were in a situation where you were willing to change, right? So that's the
Yeah.
thing, right? So you were on a mission to change. Like this is like that made you extremely receptive to that, right?
Yeah. Sure.
So it's like how do you find the people who are willing to change and
Yeah.
actually want to do the work?
I think they're everywhere. I mean, if the information wasn't so highly censored in the first place, I would be able to reach more easily. I mean, when the whole COVID thing happened, I started getting banned so quickly, just trying to share truthful information to remove fear from
Okay.
people. Like, just like, come on, like, just you do not need to be living in fear right now. Please stop. Like, this is factual information I'm trying to share with you about, you know, whatever it is. And, like,
Right.
just complete like banning, and now I can still tell, like, whenever I share powerful messages and stuff like this, like there's still like I can see how it's like it's not reaching anybody, right? Only like
I see. And
not
you're
powerful
referring
stuff.
through like social media. Is that what you're referring?
Yeah, like all platforms. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the information people don't realize how highly controlled the information. That's a very disturbing thing, and that's why a lot of people don't realize there's something to question, because the information isn't available unless you look for it.
Yeah. I would hear you on that one for sure. There's no doubt about it. No doubt.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you have to tell us, like, what are you, so you're in between projects, right? So you're probably going to get started with something new here. Are you promoting your practice of hospice pharmacy, or how are you reaching out to people, or what is it that you are promoting?
Well, so coaching is really the main focus for me. It's either group or one-on-one. It's essentially using whatever tools that are the best and that I can help customize like a program for each person, right? Because a lot of people will come to me with like maybe a mental aspect, where obviously we're going to definitely use the breath work if you have anxiety, because I'm able to get off medication very quickly. And that's a huge part if anybody wants to heal from anything, even not mentally, but chronically. Like, you have to get the body, the stress, the sympathetic nervous system, you have to get the stress response turned off. So, I mean, essentially what I do is coaching. It's group or one-on-one. I mean, I help literally customize a program that people can actually do based on the amount of time and effort they want to put into it, so they can get as far as they can as quickly as possible, whether it's healing, removing themselves from the suffering of the human condition, right? Identification with thought, right? It's kind of like a spiritual thing with also the deep transformational coaching thing, which is the paradigm. You got to expose your beliefs, your deep-seated paradigms that are causing you to continue to create the situations you create in your life, or, you know, live and operate through those paradigms. Most of us just live through these paradigms. We don't even aware of the paradigms, which are all kinds of beliefs, right? All of it. Anybody can become aware of any of it and start questioning it and be like, actually, I don't agree with that. That is not the way I want to live. Let's choose something new, something different. This makes more sense to me. This is how I want to operate. All right, how do I go about actually doing that and getting there? Right. So, I mean, that's essentially what it is, right? It's like, it's the best of like transactional coaching, of using all the tools, right? Because I've tried everything. So I know what works the best, right? So, I just tell people, like, give them the best options, find out what works best for them, because it's ultimately all, you just, like, we are a result. Our identity, who we are, is a result of our habits. So you have to start changing habits. You have to start changing habits of thinking, not just habits that you think of as like things you do, right? How you think as well. So it's essentially combining the spiritual awakening with all of that, right? Because you can't, like, if you're fully identified with all of the thoughts that you have personally, then it's hard for you have to create a separation from that at some point, right? Otherwise, it's like, because that's still you, right? And you will keep suffering as long as you think that's still you, right? That's a big part of our suffering anyway. So it's like combining that with like personal development, essentially, right? Self-realization, like self-actualization, personal development, like, building strength, mind, body, soul. So, I mean, that's what I do anyway. Like that's what I'll always be doing the rest of my life. Like, I already know that. Like, no matter what, right? But in the meantime, I just started sharing this publicly like a few months ago, right? I was very much, I mean, having the kid, like I had to spend a lot more time on all of that than I would have ever expected because of the women I had to kid with. So, I mean, it's like, I just somewhat step into that motherly role a lot of those early couple years as well. So, I'm just now having enough free time now that we're actually splitting time to be able to do it again, or finally. So it's like just the last few months we're getting it going. So I'm going to start building some groups with it. But of course, I mean, that's just absolutely all I will be doing at some point. That way I can really commit to everybody, to really helping people. So the pharmacist thing is just something I also need to do from this new perspective, like sober, conscious. Like, I have to see if like I can somehow be the light in such a dark industry and actually like find purpose in that and be an example for others, right? And show like others that it doesn't need to be accepted like it has been, right? There's much more information. There's much more about like healing, being healthy. Like, we are extremely powerful, and we are led to believe we are so weak and flawed, and it's just not like that, right? And a lot of what Western medicine is built off of course, because it's all funded by pharma, education, everything, you name it, is essentially using chemicals to suppress symptoms. Like, it doesn't actually make sense, right? So sure, we can save lives, but then we can just allow people to get worse by adding more toxicity that also just happens to suppress a symptom, which allows the person to get worse. Like, it just doesn't make sense, right? So anyway, that's where I'm at.
That's a good mission.
Absolutely. Gotta pay the bills, gotta do the things, I went back through everything too. Like, I mean, I even served tables for a year when I got back because I wanted to see what that was. Got my degree in pharmacy for many years. So it's going through all of it again. I feel like I had to relive it all and just go on the journey. And then, of course, next beyond that is just full on, just full-time coaching and really helping as many people as possible. I'm sure I'll do a lot of traveling and trying to, hold events and all kinds of things. But, first things first, right?
Yes, yes. And then, so how would people get in contact with you if they're interested in coaching with you?
Sure. Anybody can message me through any of my social media accounts, truth_prescribe on Instagram, TikTok. Facebook is just Colton Hall. You could be able to find me there. YouTube, it's Truth Prescribed. I'm not sure if there's an underscore. Not sure if I'll get on more platforms or not. Also, go to truthprescribed.com. Just sign up for my email list. I did put together a website there. There's not really much use in a website though, so I don't usually send people there because there's not much I can do there. I mean, really, I just need to talk to you. Like, just message me. Message me on any of them, and we'll get together, make things happen. I don't like to waste time. I like to get straight to it and get to work because it's all about the work. You got to do work. You're not going to do any good talking about shit.
Yeah, it's true. Awesome. Yeah, no, that's good. And then, so we're at the part of the show where we do a fill in the blank. It's our tradition here on this podcast. Okay. The first one is, if I am fearless, I will
accomplish anything I could ever possibly want to because of limitations other than my beliefs.
Okay. All right. The next one is, to me, fearless freedom means.
endlessly pursuing freedom of mind, body, like sovereignty, true sovereignty with no limitations, without anything. Nothing can ever stand in your way.
Awesome. And then the last one is my battle cry is.
You cut out. I didn't hear anything.
The last one is my battle cry is.
My battle cry?
Yeah.
Saying, huh? I don't have anything. It's like what's something you would say to get yourself pumped up, right?
It could be anything. I've had lots of different responses to that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar. It's just like, I am extremely powerful. The only thing that limits me are my beliefs. I am open to questioning them and anything. I will no longer accept weakness or the idea of being divided or some sort of like separate thing, right? Because everything is connected. We are all one.
Awesome. See, I'm sure you never thought about that before, huh?
No, I was like, wait a minute. I don't know. I was thinking like there's some sort of like word or like, few words that like maybe I would say to myself, like, oh, yeah, or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's individual, right? So it's like, I've had people say one word. I've had people say a paragraph. I've had people make a sound. I mean, it's very individual.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. That's still good. It's fun.
Yeah, indeed. I thank you so much for your time. Just let everybody know again how they can reach you, right? So you mentioned the socials.
At truth_prescribe. I'm just like on IG, TikTok. I think YouTube is just without the underscore, or Colton Hall on Facebook.
Okay.
Call me there. Truthprescribe.com. Sign up for my email list. I'll start getting that going probably towards the end of the year here.
Good. Awesome. All right. Well, I thank you for coming on, and we appreciate you, and thank you for all the pearls and sharing your story. We really appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah. Happy to do it. Thanks for having me, Charmaine. It's great to meet you.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Again, I'm Dr. G. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you can get notified of when the next episode is going to be. And also, I'll catch you next time. Have a great one. Be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.